What's up, banjo players? Let's talk about left-hand positions. Now, most old-time banjo players that I know don't really use strict left-hand positions, or if they do, they don't necessarily know that they're doing it, and they're certainly not talking about it. But I'm going to break the silence on left-hand positions because I think they're really useful for being able to participate potentially at a higher level and definitely a lot sooner, because a lot of these tunes necessitate playing notes that are higher than the 5th fret, which is where most banjo players will sort of stop. They'll play between frets 1 and 5, and if they need a note that's higher than string 1, fret 5, they'll travel up and down the first string looking for their note. And that's reductive because a lot of them actually know where all the notes are on the first string, or at least intuit really well where all the notes are, and they'll be jumping between the 5th fret and the 14th fret with like uncanny accuracy and tone and tastefulness, and it's really fun to watch. It's like watching an erhu player or a sitar player, any of these instruments that have a limited amount of strings. And so in order to travel a relatively small musical interval, they have to move their hand a long ways. Or a lap dulcimer might be a more appropriate example for like this music. You'll see a lap dulcimer player and they're moving their left hand all over the place, but that same musical interval on a fiddle is not too far. Anyway, I sometimes play like that, but I mostly like to avoid that. I usually like playing vertical positions as opposed to horizontal positions. So playing on the first string all the way up and down the neck, that would be a horizontal position. If I wanted to play that's a lot of work for a horizontal position. It sounds fine, but it's a little bit sweaty. It's like a lot of effort just to get those 5 notes. I would probably not bother playing all of those notes if I was going to do that position switch. If I was going to use just the first string, I would probably just go or something, or do a slide combination, or leave out some notes. But I can get that run exactly with a lot less effort, and I think a better tone if I just go to 7th fret position. And this lick happens all the time in old-time music. This is just one little example. That is way easier. It sounds better because the melody is divided between 3 strings, which means they're all vibrating at the same time. Whereas this horizontal position, each note is muted as you play each next note because it's all on one string, and you can only have one note going at a time, not counting the sympathetic vibrations of the other strings. But playing in positions isn't just useful for playing up the neck, although a lot of these tunes do necessitate going up the neck one way or the other. I will say real quick that traditional kind of clawhammer banjo players, when they just travel up and down the first string, they haven't developed this like really uncanny musical wisdom for how to abstract a fiddle melody and make it fit on the banjo, and because of the limitation of the technique. And I think that's really special, and I don't want anyone to think that I think it's always better to play more notes. And, playing in positions will allow you to play more notes, but I think I'm all about agency and being able to choose, and I think you can develop that same musical wisdom by being able to do something and choosing not to do it, and choosing to restraint, as opposed to just playing to the limit of your abilities, if that makes sense. If you listen to my episode with Mark Simos, my Get Up in the Cool episode with him, he talks about this idea of the simplicity on the other side of complexity, which I recommend going and listening to all of his thoughts about music and how to play it. So anyway, that's a bit of a digression. Most old-time banjo players, they'll hang out between here and here, and you can still play in positions down here too. If you play with a stricter position, at least as a default, as a rule that you can break, which I think is better than just utter chaos, then you'll have better finger economy. Like, your fingers will know which frets they're supposed to play. So the most common 2 positions are fret 1 position, which is where index finger is in charge of the first fret on all the strings. Middle finger's in charge of the 2nd fret, ring on 3rd, pinky on 4th. And that will get you a long ways on the banjo for strings 2 through 4. And the 2nd fret position is really useful for the 1st string and for alternate tunings like double C or double D tuning, where you don't necessarily need that 1st fret, or playing pentatonic melodies. We'll get into all what that means later, but the 2nd fret position is just the same, but shifted down 1 fret. So, index fingers on 2nd fret, middles on 3rd, rings on 4th, pinkies on 5th. So when I say go to 4th fret position, I mean put your index on the 4th, and then each finger after plays, 5, 6, 7. Or a 9th fret position would be 9, 10, 11, 12. After you get to the 12th fret, you can be a little more lax with those rules because the frets are tiny. It's like a mandolin down there. So, you can cover maybe 2 frets or 3 frets with 1 finger. There's a little more freedom there, a little more problem solving also because of that freedom, but you have some more options available to you, less position switches up there. So that's the basics of playing in positions. The 2 that you'll have to worry about the most are 1st fret and 2nd fret. Then we'll also get into throughout this series 4th fret position and 7th fret position, and then eventually 9th fret position, 12th fret, 14th fret, all those things. But these 2 main ones, 1st and 2nd, are what you should worry about for now. Good luck out there. Happy banjo playing.